There you go. Let's move straight over to the Astro Doodle. Give me a second here. All right, so there we go. A little bit of cat hair, but we can survive. We'll be all right. Thank you, Bubba. Little Bubba wanted to make sure that I was aware that I'm not paying attention to him right now. I think he'll survive. We've done this before. Hello, Delicia. Hello, Sarah. I'm going to get on with an Astrodoodle now, so just be patient, hang out for a little bit, and we'll kind of go from there, all right? So, without any further, let's do this. Okay. Well, there we are. Thank you for your patience, everybody, while I set up with the little astrodoodle for the day. There's the Tarot Lumination mark. There's my signature. And here we go. So let me just check in. I want to say, first of all, thank you, Delisha. And also thank you, Tina. Now you won't see it on the screen because Tina did a direct donation by PayPal. So it doesn't show up here on the super chat. So I'm going to put Tina over here. Thank you again, Tina. Tina has been just an incredible supporter over the years. Thank you. And also tonight we have Delisha Williams. And there's a little tiny note in there, and you can tell it's concerning love. So we'll just keep it very, very simple, okay? It's almost like when I do these readings, less is more. So we can mark that up. I've got room for maybe another 2 more readings. Greetings necessary. How are you today? It's already late. It's fine. It's already 8 p.m. at night for you over there, over in the New York, Bronx-ish type of area. Let's see who else shows up tonight. Ooh. Isn't that the freakiest, weirdest astrodoodle you've ever seen? Well, yeah. It's because it is. All right. Let me just check in with everybody, see how we're all doing. And let's see, what does that look like over here? I've got to, I'm trying to manage the show here as best I can. There we are. Oh, hello. Good evening, everybody. Let me just check in and say hi. RSH. Oh, I know. Yeah. You're going to try Ukraine again, Tion. Okay. RSH. Yeah, it's you. Okay. RSH. We know who you are. Thank you for dropping by. Thank you for hanging in. Good evening. The Love Tribe is here as well. If you want to elaborate, Love Tribe, you're more than welcome. You know, this is kind of an open forum here, the way we do this. A lot of the people who visit here sort of know each other by remote. And we all have characteristics and traits and personalities that kind of like, you know, become evident when we do these little shows. Also, the beauty about working like this, the way we do, is that we have a high degree of anonymity. I personally really, really cherish my privacy and what's the other one? Oh yeah, my privacy. To me, that's very, very important. And yet at the same time, I'm a human being like everyone else, and I do need that connection with the rest of humanity. And what better way than YouTube and all the social media stuff? I don't really do all the heavy-duty social media. I can barely cope with YouTube, as you've probably figured out. But we're still here. I feel like I should be all sorts of, you know, like chatty and Mr. Sociable and Mr. Host of the moment type of thing, and, you know, doing all these super ultra positive, let's say, vibes that you just shoot out to the rest of the world. And I never talk about anything controversial. I never mention anybody's names that are guaranteed triggers to diminish the little channel that we have already. But the problem is, that's basically who I am and how I am. And so if I try to pretend I'm anything else, I just feel like it's just fake. So I just live with things the way they are, and that's just how it is. Cheers, everybody. I've noticed that some of the channels that I really admire on YouTube have really gone to great lengths to censor themselves and very rarely talk about anything directly by name or by subject. They kind of talk around it, you know. It's kind of creepy. Yes, Tina, I did see that. Okay. So let's just deal with that. Okay, so what I'm noticing, because I scour through and I rummage through lots and lots of stuff every day and during the week to come up with my own opinions and perceptions about how the world is right now. And Ukraine, the whole Ukraine story is very high on the list of subjects because it's very hard to avoid the subject. It's happening in what we call the Western world, which is basically where all the so-called privileged and wealthy people live. Typically that's considered to be Europe, especially Western Europe, North America, including Canada, Alaska, and also Australia and New Zealand. Now, these days you also have to include China in a way because China is so big. But you also have to understand that even though it is so big, there's a perception issue because the vast bulk of the Chinese population lives in dire poverty. But they don't show you that. They don't tell you that. Saturn is in Aquarius right now, transiting for the last year and a half or so at least. And there's probably at least another 9 months to go. And that's been very, very tough on China. And it's going to get even tougher. Mars is in Aquarius right now, and it's heading towards Saturn. So this is a total setup for like explosiveness regarding China. Okay? You're not seeing it much on the news anywhere, but there's hints already, okay? So, oh no. RSH, you're up in Sacramento, as far as I recall. You just had a mass shooting downtown. 21 people shot, 6 dead. Oh, well. Yeah. Tina, I feel the same way as you do, where regarding the Ukrainian people, you have to understand that there's a lot more going on with the Ukraine story besides this really ugly, dirty war with Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine is at this very central, pivotal point between what they call the East and the West, or the good guys and the bad guys, or communism versus freedom. Okay? And the lines are getting very, very blurred right now because global interests have expanded to a kind of an explosive level right now, where the whole communist agenda is going absolutely berserk, doing everything they can to try and propagate their business model. And in some ways, they're doing an incredible job. A lot of the very highest level of the elites in the United States and parts of Western Europe and the banking system and Wall Street and the United States Federal Reserve, they are very deeply in bed with China. Okay? Now, all those so-called free market, freedom-loving people at the very top of that empire don't want you to know that they profit astronomically by being deeply in bed with China. And the way they profit is by having this dirty little secret whereby their profits are obtained off the slavery of the Chinese slave camps. All you have to do is look at Apple manufacturing for phones and computers, and then I will tell you everything. All you have to do is check in with Steve Cook and find out what he really does and who he really is. It's the same thing with Disney. It's the same thing with, the American military, the American education system, American social media, American military, American auto manufacturing, batteries, you name it. That's why I was using the word Chinerica. A couple of years ago we started talking about it, and call me crazy, but it's happening. People are starting to realize, you look at this planet Earth and you've got this very sick, disturbing, very ugly, to me it's a very ugly situation, like an extremely ugly marriage that looks really wonderful on the outside, but you go inside the front door of that household, that family, and you get into the subject of the 8th house, which is about merging resources, being in bed with someone else, and what you create from being in bed with someone else when you merge with them and they merge with you, even in terms of DNA. We're creating a monster. And the people who are enabling that monster are at the very, very, very top of our society that we think of as democracy, freedom, free market capitalism, or constitutional republics. We're all getting scammed because the people in our elected offices have not been held accountable. The corruption is so extreme, it's happening exactly the way that our forefathers in 4th of July, 1776 described. The very, very thing that they warned us about, the very, very worst thing that can and will inevitably happen to the United States is that the enemy will be within. And that's why the Constitution was written the way it's written, because the founders knew that there would come a point there would be so much money and so much power that they could not stop the corruption through the original mechanisms of freedom-loving people who want an honest leadership and integrity and rule of law and freedom of speech, the right to assembly, the right to have honest money and honest transactions. All of that is gone. It has been completely vaporized by our so-called leaders who so-called have our best interests at stake. Believe me, the leaders, the corporatocracy, the American oligarchs, the federal government, and above all, the U.S. Federal Reserve, the only thing that they care about is their money, and their power, and their control at your expense. Okay? It's that simple. They have perfected their game to an art form where I would say a huge portion of the world, including a large majority of the American population, are oblivious to what's actually happening. And that's the whole plan. It's a facade. It's an ultimate betrayal. Okay? And so there are lots of different things like manifesting across the world. Like we have the war in Ukraine. We have globalized inflation. We have crippling supply chain issues with food that's going to affect the whole world. The cost of food, the availability of food is going to go, the availability is going to go down and the cost is going to go up. You're going to see it later this year and in 2023. because it takes a while for these things to work through the the pipelines, the logistics systems, or the global farming cycle. Okay, and a lot of the global farming cycle happens in the northern hemisphere. Okay. There is, Tina has a simple message here. Hunter Biden is going down. I believe that is true. I think what is happening right now is during the previous political administration in America, that leader, Donald, made it his business to expose the squalor, expose the truth, expose the corruption, so that you can reveal it to heal it. Okay? We're at the point now where they call it like drain the swamp. So the swamp has been drained. And in the draining of the swamp, a lot of the swamp creatures were exposed. And at the very, very top of the pile of the hierarchy of swamp creatures are these people. One of them is named Hillary, the other one's Bill. There's the Bush and the Bush. There's the Barack family. There's the Bill and his company. There's George and his company. And there's a whole cluster of them. And then there's also the whole of the Federal Reserve banking system, and basically the whole of Washington, D.C. It's deeply infected, deeply corrupted, to the point where even years ago, before Donald was elected, he was, I think it was Love Triber who sent me these notes, but he was, let's say, recruited by some patriots in America. Believe it, there are still some patriots in the United States who believe in the core essence of the United States and the beauty and the wonder of the United States and the desire to preserve the United States. And they became aware that the only thing left to do is call it out, including a military coup if necessary. Now that hasn't actually happened, but that's still on the cards. There's a lot of distraction going on across the world. There's so much other war going on besides Ukraine. There's like Central Africa. There's Eastern Africa. There's Sri Lanka. There's parts of Myanmar, Burma. There's parts of the South Pacific. There's parts of the North Pacific. There's bloodshed and warfare in all those areas. But they're not getting the headlines because, you know, there's that Will Smith took over the headlines for a while. But it's reaching a kind of a crescendo. Let me go over to the Astrodoodle for a minute. Teal, hold on. Let me just catch up with the chat here. There's a lot going on. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's perfectly natural to draw parallels with World War II, Tina, because there's a lot of appeasement going on. For example, with the United States, the administration is basically saying we must do everything we can not to make Vladimir angry. That's appeasement. He doesn't care. The only way you deal with someone like, you know who over there, the enemy, Putin, is you take him down. You just use raw, brutal, violent force to take them down. And the way that translates is we send guns, bullets, javelins, whatever they're called, and the stingers and whatever they're called, and a large amount of air support with a lot of bombs. And then you just go and you obliterate the Russian offensive. That's what you do. But Joe and company, they're worried like, oh my God, the rest of the world is going to accuse us of being monsters even worse than Vladimir. Oh, we can't do that. So we'll just stay back. If things get really, really bad, then we'll do something. We'll do something. We're really, really going to do something. Of course, it's a bit of a pickle and a bit of a bind, because Russia operated in a very similar way to China, where China exploited its slave population to make it irresistible to the Western cabal, to make these very incestuous manufacturing agreements that provided great profits for Wall Street at the expense of the Chinese slave camps. And in Russia, it was different. Their main asset was oil and gas and wheat and fertilizer. And so they exploited that. So they play all sweet and nice for a couple of decades to set up the whole of Western Europe to be completely and utterly dependent on Russian oil and gas. And then when you own Europe with the oil and the gas, that's the moment when you strike. Because all you have to do is switch off the oil and the gas, and then Europe is crippled. Completely and utterly crippled. And then Vladimir can come in and do whatever he wants. And everyone goes, well, wait a minute, you can't do that. You have to stop. Please turn on our gas. We want to stay warm and be cozy and happy. And Vladimir's like, well, you should have thought of that. Sorry, man, I'm taking Ukraine. Now, it's backfired, of course, as everybody knows. But the underlying business model is still the same. Anyway, I'm saying a lot of stuff here which is probably going to get me in trouble if I'm not careful, so I should probably shut up. Yeah, rebirth of Hitler. I mean, Hitler, he played all like charming, and he was very mesmerizing, and he lured everybody into it. And I think he was a very, very smart fellow in that he knew how to mesmerize people. I don't think he understood the consequences of his behavior later on, because in the end he took himself out and he killed tens of millions of people along the way in order to make a point. And what's interesting, somebody brought it up the other day. Who was that? So I was working with a client or something, and they said, well, it was just like the Jews in World War II. They were so stunned by what was happening, they almost didn't believe it. So they basically stayed where they were, and they ended up getting corralled and, pulled into the trains and then slaughtered in the concentration camps and the death camps. It was so preposterous, so evil that the vast bulk of people couldn't believe it. Like, that's just a story. No, it really, really happened. There are still Holocaust deniers today. Some of my family members have been over to Auschwitz in Germany, and they've actually seen the memorials and the photographs and everything for Auschwitz death camps. Anyway, RSH, what does that say? Will you do a read for me with my job situation right now? I want to make sure I am. I had to go to managers about an issue, hoping things would get better, and also want to make sure my job is safe. Okay. Well, we can do a reading. I can't guarantee you're going to hear what you want to hear, okay, RSH? But if you want a reading, you can do the super chat, or you can do the PayPal donations. You can do the terralumination.com donations. Hello, Karen, over there in New Zealand. Okay. Gina, you're correct. It is already World War III. The reality is that even though America is not being bombed directly right now, Canada is not being bombed directly. Same thing with Mexico or Central or South America. It's what I would call asymmetric warfare. there are places like Sri Lanka right now, which used to be Ceylon. I don't know how many hundreds of millions of people live there, but they are in deep doo-doo right now because of the currency war going on between the United States and the rest of the world. The United States is at the very, very closing stages of the collapse of the US dollar. And what always happens with fake money, fake currencies, for thousands of years is that it eventually becomes worthless and unbelievable. And so it reincarnates in a new format. What they're trying to do right now is something called modern money theory, MMT. You can look at people like Paul Krugman and such. And the whole idea is like, their idea is like, money doesn't really matter what it is. It's just a token of accounting. It doesn't have to represent value or worth or time or anything like that. It's just a process of accounting and management for the people up at the top who have to do the accounting and management. And in that case, it doesn't matter how much currency or money you print, because all it is just tokens to allow people to exchange. And in that sense, it's absolutely true. Modern money theory is literally just an accounting system and a token, because it has no real value. But that's what they're trying to propagate across the whole world. China already does it. They're already doing it with their CBDC, central bank digital currency. It's all fake money. China prints as much fake money as America. If America prints 100 billion fake money, China prints 100 billion. And it just goes on and on and on. And that's the currency war. America just prints more money faster than anyone else in the world. And that's how we stay ahead in America. But what happens is a lot of other countries and populations become crippled because they can't keep up. And so you get crippling inflation like what's happening in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh and places like that. And there's no way to fight that. You can't fight a currency war with guns and bullets. It's impossible. In fact, the currency war is much more effective and much more powerful, much more destructive than anything that's happening in Ukraine or the Congo or Somalia or the Middle East and Iran and Syria and Afghanistan. All that stuff looks really ugly and bloody and nasty, but the currency war is creating a lot more damage. And that damage extends to billions of people. And America is waging that war right now. It doesn't have an option. Okay. God, I just went on. Let me go to the charts. I need to rant a little bit about my charts. Sorry, I can't help that. So let me just check at the moment. We've got a reading for Delisha regarding love and romance issues. We've got a reading for Tina. And then RSH was hinting that she wanted a reading. Something about the work situation. It sounded like a little bit of a whistleblower situation. And that you had to reveal something. And this is like a little bit, makes things very awkward by the sound of it. Okay? So anyway, we got two readings lined up. Let me go over here for a moment. This is the Astrodoodle for today. That's basically it. Now, if I wanted to add Black Moon Lilith over here, that would show a little bit of like, you know, like taking a breath, okay? Oh, Tina answered that. I think it's because Russia is doing everything it can to peg its ruble to gold. It's not going to happen. Russia's not going to get paid in rubles. Nobody gives a shit about rubles except Russia or the Russian people. They need their rubles. It's the same thing with the Chinese yuan. Nobody really wants the Chinese yuan, but it is very, very big. And the Chinese, the Communist Party is starting to think, you know what, we can start playing the same game as America. So you end up with a war. the Chinese yuan versus the US dollar, the US dollar versus the Russian ruble. And that warfare happens in the currency markets and through things like the sanctions and all of that stuff, you know. Anyway, the thing that I wanted to mention here is that, you see this big red blob? That's, to me, the thing of relevance right now. We have these interesting tight clusters. The moon is very tight with Uranus and close to the North Node in Taurus. There's a lot of emotion and change and upheaval and radical disintegration and chaos that is happening in the global financial markets. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And the more that the currency war expands, the more and more that some people are going to look for an escape route. That escape route for some people will be things like gold, or buying a farm for cash, or getting bitcoins and cryptos and things like that. But people want something that's real and that will hold its value. Because right now in the currency war, what's happening, if you really pay close attention, the United States dollar is collapsing. It is inevitable that it will collapse, and the only way it can restructure itself is with another version of fake money, which is even more fake than fake money, and that's with the CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, which turns into a financial method of imprisonment. It's happening, people. It's coming up to us. This whole axis here is about war to do with money. And money is directly related to power. Power is directly related to money. And the way money is conducted in three-dimensional terms is through currencies. So Mars is very close to joining Saturn and Venus. And it's in a hard square with Uranus and the moon in Taurus. So this axis here, what it tells me is that the real war that is starting to unfold is all about global finance. Now, when you look at the news, you will see the side effects of the currency wars. You will see people like mass shootings, bombings, killings, rioting, looting, people stealing from each other because the cost of food or the ability to produce food becomes prohibitive. And people go berserk. Well, there was an expression, I saw it the other day, what is it? We, humanity, not just humanity at large, but every human being is essentially 9 meals away from chaos. Put it this way, if you have not been able to eat anything for 9 days, and that includes having fresh, clean water, guess what happens? All you have to do is look what happened in the 20th century, from the 1900s, 1910, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60s, 70s, 80s. Millions of people were starving. In China, 60 million people died under communist rule, trying to control the food supply. In Europe, tens of millions of people were died or killed in war, a lot of it because of starvation and the restructuring of the global economy, and on and on and on and on and on. And so when I said that expression, I think it was Love Triber who showed me that documentary. It was absolutely horrific. It is definitely not the sort of documentary you would normally see on any kind of mainstream media. It was absolutely gruesome, grotesque, and you could see and understand very easily what happens when humanity expands rapidly in population because we have developed amazing skills that allow us to expand and grow our population. But we don't have the skills to contain that or control that to make it equitable and in balance. So in general, we have a tendency to overpopulate until we can't eat anymore because there's just too many people and not enough resources. And that story happened over and over and over again in the 20th century. And there was a common theme to all those stories with all the deprivation and losses. The common theme was that eventually, after about 3 days, which is 3 males, which is 3 times 3 times 3, 3 days times 3 meals, that's 9, okay? So that's why the expression was 9 meals. You are 9 meals away from chaos. And that chaos is basically death, murder, rioting, looting, stealing, whatever it takes to get food and water. And you don't even care anymore whether it's legal or illegal. It just depends, like, what are you as an individual willing to do to get food and water so that you can stay alive. Some people can't handle it, and they kind of curl up and die, which is understandable. Some people don't care. They think, you know what, I'm just going to do what I have to do. And eventually they resort to cannibalism. There you go. And then they have to live with that now that they're still alive. And they ate their own children and mothers and fathers and neighbors and brothers and sisters and enemies. Huh? Oh, thanks, Tina. We'll do that. Right now, we still only have the 2 readings lined up. I just want to check something because a couple people said they were interested in readings, but I didn't see any donations come in. Hold on, give me a second here. Doopy doopy doo. Let me see that. No. I'm just checking. I'm just checking in. Okay, so let me do my promotion marketing thing here. Doopy doopy doo. So, anyway, let me get back to this a second. Pluto is over here in Capricorn, as we know. It's been hovering around here for a few years. We still have a few more years to go. Things are going to get even more crazy and more intense the closer and closer Pluto gets to this line here and crosses into Aquarius. When Pluto crosses into Aquarius, we're going to have globalized revolution. The demand for freedom and human rights is going to explode. And what that's going to do is trigger the enemy of freedom and sovereignty to our human rights. In other words, the communist cabal that operates right now. We talked about that before. That's the New World Order. That's the World Economic Forum. That's all the people at the very, very, very tippity top of the global pyramid of power, money, and control. They are going to increase their pressure. I guarantee that's what's going to happen. So, get used to the volatility. Mars is cruising through here. Mars is in Aquarius right now. Mars is going to transit through all of this. When Mars gets into Aries, there's going to be violence across the world. When Mars transits into Taurus, it's going to get very violent over here as well. Okay, so we're looking at many months ahead of globalized violence that's going to pop up all over the world. Okay. It's going to get radical and bizarre and quite scary, frankly. Wait, hold on a minute. Where was it? I don't want to scare people away, but I'm just very angry in some ways. Okay. RSH, yeah. RSH, I'll do a reading for you. If you want to put a donation in the pot later on, however you want to do that, we'll work it out. Okay? I know you. You know me. We're good. We'll handle it. I'm just going to put it big question marks about the work situation. Right now I'm feeling it's something to do with very awkward subject, like the whistleblower type of thing. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to put the word work. You could call it career, but let's just leave it at work for now, okay? I'll put Tina over here. She said she's okay to wait. And I'll put RSH over here. So that's where we are right now. So just before I go away from the astrodoodle in a minute, Pluto's in about 28 degrees Capricorn. There's nothing really over here in the rest of the planets close to 28 degrees. Now, by Earth signs, yes, Capricorn, Taurus. But it's a very loose thing. I mean, like, if you want, I can put a very tiny, thin green line here. But it's almost meaningless. Also, with Aquarius and Aries, there's this big cluster here, Mars, Venus, and Saturn. And then we have over here Chiron, Sun, and Mercury. So that's potentially, you know, what they call a sextile, which is a very harmonious relationship, which would be the green pen. But again, it's very, very slight, very slender, that it's hardly worth marking. But I'll do it. And then over here, with the Pisces energy, we've got Jupiter conjoining Neptune, which is a very powerful alignment. And the beautiful sense of it is just like expanding the healing power of love across the whole of Earth. In other words, it's not the end of the world, people. We're not dead yet. This is a very beautiful, powerful energy when it's operating and functioning in a healthy way. But sadly, it's a very hard energy to understand or manage or, let's say, manifest. So what we're mostly seeing with the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction here is the exposure of the extreme squalor and lies and betrayal and perversions that's going on across the globe in how business is actually conducted. Now, you could say, with the Pisces energy here and the Taurus energy here, yeah, there's Uranus in Taurus, Moon in Taurus, and I'll just put a very tiny, faint green line here, just to give you a little bit of hope. But we are completely overshadowed at this moment in time by this big, fat, red, hard square, which is all about the global currency war, which has different ways that it appears. In Ukraine, we actually have the raw, brutal war in its most raw, brutal sense. But the war is actually happening all across the world, and that's happening through the global currency markets. Okay, so we talked enough about that. And with the North Node here in Taurus, things are going to get more and more and more volatile over the next year as the North Node transits through Taurus. And when it conjoins Uranus, please expect global chaos financially at the same time as the birth of a brand new, completely revolutionary global financial system. It's going to happen simultaneously, so be very, very aware. Be very, very careful. I'm just giving you guys a heads up right now. You need to know. If there's any way that you can prepare, please prepare. Okay? I wanted to mention something about this, the Pisces energy. You got to reveal it to heal it. And so, on mainstream news, mainstream media, you know what the mainstreams, that's in America, that's ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, Reuters, Associated Press, New York Times, Washington Post, all these big, famous, high-profile media names in America. Then you can, on top of that, you can add Google and YouTube and Apple and Microsoft and Twitter and Facebook and all of that stuff. They are all part of one core organization. And there was a lady very, very, very high up in Washington with global politics and finance. And she was being questioned about some very awkward, delicate, embarrassing things that are starting to be revealed in Washington regarding the squalor and the depth of corruption of what's happening in Washington, D.C., in our own country, in America, where we are here as supposedly representing freedom and sovereign self, and having the way it expresses through what's called a constitutional republic. Okay? And she blurted out on camera, she said, "Huh, the way you're talking, it's quite insulting. It makes me think that you're accusing me and all my buddies of being part of a cabal of pedophiles that control and operate the whole of Earth and all our business." And then the news reporter said, well, you said that. I didn't say that, but, how would you know that? How would you understand that? Do you have any more comments for us? And from that point, the conversation stopped, okay? The things that are happening with Disney, for example, the things that are happening with Apple, the depth of squalor and corruption is absolutely freaking mind-boggling. The things that are happening in the American universities and the school system about the, I would say, just call it what it is. It's just the perversion that's going on. It's all being revealed. And the beauty is that you do have to reveal it to heal it. The sad part is that it has been hidden and buried and infecting the American culture, the American world, the American economy, American society for decades and decades. And it's deliberate. It's the same problem that's happening on the southern border in the United States, where you have to understand, over here in Washington, it is a controlled demolition. The people who are running the show right now, they have a vested interest in destroying the United States as we know it. Okay? Their job, their mission over here is to crush the United States population through the currency wars, through CBDCs, and through UBI, such that the general American public has no power anymore in Washington, and they become slaves of the system. And what it does, it opens the door over here. You see this? This line here? This is basically a doorway for evil to come in. Over here, it's already happened. Canada has already now become a communist dictatorship under the auspices of Justin Trudeau. Okay? The commies are right here on our front door. That's 3,000 miles of border. Well, 4,000 if you add all the wiggles. 4,000 miles of communist neighbors. 4,000 miles of communist neighbors. China is flooding through this border with fentanyl. Their mission is to flood the United States with fentanyl so that the whole of the United States becomes a crippled, junkie economy. There we go. Okay? That is the mission. If you don't see that, if you can't understand it, it's now time to wake up. It's really, really time to wake up, people. We're talking about the systematic, planned deconstruction, demolition of the United States of America. Everywhere over here is already heavily compromised by socialism, borderline communism, okay? They can't help it, okay? Over here it's chaos. Over here it's chaos, chaos. In the Middle East it's chaos. The other wars going on, of course, are to do with oil and gas.
Luckily, we have astronomical supplies. So the thing is about with the agenda over here with Joe and his company, the reason that the very first day in office, whatever, it was about a year and 2 months ago, they shut down the Keystone Pipeline. That's where all of our oil comes from Alaska. That's shut down, and they're shutting down oil production over here. The whole idea, as far as Joe and Kamala are concerned, their job is to destroy the United States economy, okay? To get it off of oil and gas. And they're trying to tell the people the way we're going to do it is with solar power and windmills. And we're going to have, everything's going to be green, and we're all going to be vegetarians, and everything's going to be beautiful, and we'll just control everything and tell you what to do and how to do it. That is their plan. And they're actually doing it. The only remaining, Australia has essentially become a communist country. New Zealand is holding on very tight. Most of the South Pacific is in deep jeopardy. Sri Lanka is totally screwed. Taiwan and Japan are in deep trouble. Most of Africa is in deep shit right now. China is also has already signed an agreement over here in the Solomon Islands to build military bases. The Solomon Islands leaders took the money from China. They basically said, we don't care about America or freedom or Japan or free market economy anymore. We just want the money. China gave them the money, so the Solomon Islands just sold out to China. So now China is going to be building military bases right here. So Australia's freaking out. New Zealand's freaking out. Okay? China is already at war over here, trying to hustle with Taiwan and Japan. You already know what's happening in Hong Kong. It's sick shit going on there. China is all over Africa. Every country in Africa has taken the Chinese money. Africa is totally screwed. It's almost the same story for South America and part of it for Central America. It wasn't Panama. It was not Costa Rica. What's the other one in there? Is it Nicaragua? I can't remember. But one of them struck the deal with China a few months ago. So China is everywhere right now. They're doing everything they can to expand their military based on the American model all across the world for the day when they can say, okay, we're going to take down America now. America is basically being isolated. Okay? We are the only country, the only population remaining on Earth that has anything resembling freedom. Okay? And out of that American population, there's only about 30 to 40% of it that aligns as patriots. I think in reality, if the American population actually knew what was going on, we'd have 60 or 70% of the population aligning as patriots. But sadly, the American mainstream media is doing an incredibly good job of faking it. So the American people are clueless. Americans are absolutely freaking clueless about what's happening. And that's just exactly what China and Russia want. But most especially China. If you think Russia is a problem right now, wait for China. Even though China is very, very sick, China is very, very sick right now. Mars in Aquarius, Venus in Aquarius conjoined with Saturn in Aquarius. That's very bad news for China. So what they're going to do is they're just going to become violent. That's what they're going to do. Okay, so I hope that scared the shit out of you people. There we go. Let me check in with everybody. Let's go back to sweet, cuddly, warm, fuzzy tarot. Hello, this is Tarot Lumination. Hi, how are you this evening? Oh, nice to see you. Sorry about that rant. I guess it was bottled up. I take in a lot of information and then I sleep on it and I process it. and then I come to my own opinions and conclusions. And I dare you to tell me that I'm wrong. All right, let's have a look. So we got 3 readings lined up. That's probably all I can handle, given the conditions right now. Let's have a look over here. Okay. I mean, we could rant like this for hours, okay? But I'm not going to do it. Because I don't want to cause so much pain and fear. It's funny, when you look at this astrodoodle from a distance like this, you can't even see the little tiny green lines. When you look at it up close, yeah, the little tiny green lines are there. Now, of course, in a few days, the moon's going to be over here, and we'll get some nice harmony with Aquarius. And then it'll be over here, we'll get some nice harmony with Pisces. And then over here, the moon's going to be in Leo, and there's going to be a shitstorm, okay? And then it's going to be in Virgo, there's going to be another shitstorm. Then it's going to be in Aries, another shitstorm. Then in Scorpio, another shitstorm. But we're not there yet, so don't worry about it. Yay! All right, I'm going to put this aside now. Cheers, everyone. All right, let's go over here. I just want to check in again. Okay, so what do we got? All right, let's leave it at that. I'll just go straight over to the readings. I think we're good to go. Why not? Okay, let's get over here to the stage so we can actually do the work. There we go. All right, I'm going to put this aside for now. Okay, there we go. Let's have a look here. Same old, same old, same old, okay? Judge me if you want. I don't care. I love my little situational spread. It has really helped me many, 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 many times. I've done thousands of readings for people. I really only use 3 or 4 spreads. That's it. They're all custom-made, homemade tarot illumination spreads. All right, let's have a look. Delisha, we're up, okay? I hope I didn't scare you. I hope you're still here. Let's see what goes on. I'm just shuffling the deck to make sure it's nice and clean and clear. So we have no, let's say static or no external, let's say, dysfunctions or influences that are irrelevant to your situation, okay, Delisha? So right now, it's all about you, okay? All right, let's have a look here. Let's have a look. Okie dokie, that's good. All right, Delisha. So what kind of messages do we have for Delisha tonight regarding the subject of love / relationship / partnership? Before, during, or after, or if there is a state of limbo, how are we going to fill that? Is it appropriate to expect that? What about expectations? What about if there's somebody already in the picture? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Let's have a look. Cards are well shuffled. All right, so what kind of messages do we have here tonight for Delisha on that subject? As you know, I like to, well, let me get on with the reading first. Let's bless this deck, bless every single card, bless all the technology, the cameras, the lights, the internet, the computers, the softwares, it's a mind-boggling thing that we can do any of this at all, frankly, the way I look at it. So I'm very grateful. Thank you all, by the way, for being here. It's just us in our own little world. Before we go, Delisha, I'm going to raise my glass to you. You are a trooper. You've been very kind and supportive before. We've done readings together a few times. I really appreciate that. All right, now here we go. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. And let's look at the external influences. Now, as you know, Delisha, I like to default to the planets because it's very pure. Okay, they are what they are. They do what they do, for better or worse. It's up to us as human beings how we handle the energy. So I love the planets, and as you know, I like to blame everything on the planets. So when things work out great, I say, wow, I can blame the planets. When things really suck or fall apart, guess what? I blame the planets. I do all this deliberately in the highest state of consciousness that I can carry myself. But you have to remember, I'm just another guy, and I can only do so much. I don't sit here all day, lighting incense and chanting and waiting every week for to go live and do these readings. And I don't, take DMT and mushrooms or anything to try and so-called increase my connection with spirit. No, it doesn't work like that, Delisha. It's just me. But you have to understand, just me, I'm just basically invisible. It's like I am nothing. I'm literally just an instrument. I think of it as being an instrument of the healing power of love. And the best way you can do that is to essentially be completely like nothing, irrelevant, just a conduit, just a conductor. No ego, no sense of self and identity. Now, of course, as you know, Delisha, I have opinions. You've probably figured out that I have patriot type of tendencies. I like to reserve the idea to protect my money, protect my privacy, protect my physical self. And I'll do what I can to do that. I'm highly, highly vulnerable. So I have to go to extreme measures to find ways to protect my money, my privacy, and myself. So that's what I do. But that's just me in my 3D life. Otherwise, I'm just completely open. 360-degree instrument, and that's it. So that's what you've got here tonight, okay, Delisha? So when I interpret the planets, remember, I'm going to refer back to that little astrodoodle. But don't be scared just because it's all red. Okay, so we've got the Fool. In a way, this feels like a gift. Okay, Delisha? It's almost like, to me it feels like, whether you like it or know it or not, Delisha, if you are consumed with like, oh, what's not working, or what could work, or why is this not working, or what is working but doesn't really appeal, or whatever it is, it kind of doesn't matter. What I'm feeling here with the Fool card is that it's very much to do with, where's the chart? Literally, just this new moon that we just had, yesterday, the day before, the moon was over here around Aries, okay? And that was the Aries new moon. Brand new starts, new beginnings. That's for everybody on Earth regarding new moon energy. So, Delisha, for you, wherever that Aries sector lies in your chart, that's where the energy will be felt. It could be here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or wherever it is. Going at that level, we're talking about private consultations. So you can do that if you want. Everybody knows how to do that. If you're interested, go to terralumination.com, etc., blah, blah, blah. But for the time being right now, tonight on your mini reading, Sometimes you don't feel the new moon energy until it starts to pick up a few days later. So we are already 1 or 2 days farther on, and the moon is starting to pick up momentum, just like it moves in a perfect pure sine wave every month, exactly 28 days. For billions of years it's been doing this, okay? And it's still doing it, and it's going to keep doing it for couple billion years. So it's highly predictable. So with the moon in Taurus conjoined Uranus in Taurus, this little tiny sector lies in your chart somewhere too. Somewhere in your chart. Again, whether you have a Taurus, moon or rising, or I don't know, could be anything. If you have Taurus anything, like in your planets, fine. Then that will be a very hot spot. Also, the other thing to note is that this hot spot is set on fire by this hot spot over here. So if you have any kind of Aquarius energy in your chart, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, whatever, if you've got stuff there, then this thing becomes quite an issue. There's a lot of combustibility and volatility here. But instead of being scared of that red, blob, when I see the Fool card here, I see this as a golden opportunity to kind of give yourself permission to abandon all expectations. What does that look like? Wow. So what's the point in expecting someone or something? Good question, right? What is the point? Well, the point is that we all love the experience of being loving and being loved, or being on the other receiving end, where you are receiving love from another and it feels good, and so you reciprocate back to them. Being loving, being loved. Be loving, be loved, and all that. So it's like a formula. So with the Fool card here, to me it feels like this is just sort of like a little serendipity, golden moment of opportunity where you can sort of, to me it feels like give up any kind of expectations based on whatever you've learned or known in the past about love and relationship. Let's say you reached a point in life where you had this relationship and that relationship and that relationship. And then one of them went really well, but it didn't work out in the end. And one of them was really horrible, but it felt good for a while. And so on and so on. All these endless variations about what happens in what people call love and relationship. Well, I'm suggesting here, it's almost like it would be a very good moment if you could look at yourself and treat yourself like a computer, where you realize, what, the best thing to do is completely switch off and reboot. That's all. Just reboot. Oh, okay. And then you start from scratch, and you don't worry about the past, you don't anticipate the future. Okay, let's have a look at the situation itself. Okay, so we got the Two of Pentacles here. Now, if you're in a situation, Delisha, where your sense of love and relationship is actually kind of in play already, like if there's actually a particular person in play right now, to me this is a very strong indication that you have to understand, like with the Pentacles, is about material, physical reality, including money. It's amazing how many relationships kind of default ultimately to money. You never necessarily expect that or predict that. Some people fall in love or have a relationship based on like, oh, we share the same interests, like with fishing, or we want to have babies, or you like the same kind of, things to do when we go out in the evening as I do, or we're politically compatible, and things like that. Okay, that's fine. And let's say all those factors lead up to a situation where there's some kind of relationship happening and it has a certain degree of, value and credibility. However, and I'm just saying this now from personal experience, Delisha, but also from observation and having done thousands of readings, where you have to understand that when people get really, 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 really close, let me give you an idea here. Let's keep it very, very kind of light, okay? Third house, like flirty kind of dynamics and relationships, like, having a crush on somebody at work, or somebody has a crush on you, or just in day-to-day life, or like, oh my God, you're so hot, or someone else thinks, oh my God, Alicia, you're so hot. Do they do anything about it? I don't know, but the energy is flowing and there's sort of like cryptic communications and texting or whatever. And then you get over here to the fifth house, where it becomes kind of hot and spicy and romantic and sexual and perhaps passionate and creative and lively. Okay, that's great. Sometimes people think like, whoa, that is a good sign. This is going really well. Let's get married. Over here. Woo! Now things are getting really serious in the seventh house. Oh my God. Like, yes, I love you. Yes, you love me. Okay, so let's get married. We've had great sex. We're perfectly matched with politics and our society and our church and our neighborhood and our ethnicity and our goals and aspirations in life. Let's get married. Okay, beautiful. And then you get married and you're sleeping together. You've got houses and properties, and all of a sudden, money becomes really, really important. And you think like, wow, we've been having sex with protection, but what happens if we want a baby? Ooh, wow, okay. Woo! That gets pretty hot and serious. So you're talking about the eighth house energy over here, which is complete, utter soul merger. Your soul with them, their soul with you, your wallet with them, their wallet with you. And you start to get to a point where, who's this person sleeping next to me in my bed? And then the other person starts thinking like, oh, wait a minute. Everything was going great, but who is this person sleeping next to me? Right now, everything seems to be nothing about, we're not dating each other. Where's all the passion and the romance and the flirting gone? Now it's all about planning for families. It's all about the mortgage, the car payments, saving up for retirement, health plans and everything. And funnily enough, a lot of that stuff turns into money. Eighth house money, merged resources, merged finances. And that's what I'm sensing here, Delisha. What I'm sensing here with the Two of Pentacles is that you have to be aware that as relationships develop, it's very common to reach a point where the whole relationship starts to pivot around money. Money and values. Values and money. What are your values compared to them? What are their values compared to you? And you can start off and everything seems great at first, but after a while, because, I've talked about this intimately with some other people recently, but what can happen is you discover that like, wow, we should have talked about this stuff before getting married. Because some people discover that their deepest core values and value systems are not necessarily such a good match. I mean, it's great to have great sex. It's great to have two people with jobs or, things like that. Or like, oh, I want to get pregnant. Oh, I love getting you pregnant. Oh, things like that. Oh, whoopity-doo. And then when it actually happens, like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And then you start to look at the other person, person starts to look at you like, what's actually going on here? So my feeling here with the Two of Pentacles and the Fool is that it's important to understand what happens like the deeper and deeper you go into love and relationship, the romantic things don't necessarily become the most important issues. It becomes more about your values and your value systems. What is it that you value and what is it that they value? Are your value systems and beliefs in alignment with them? Are their alignments and beliefs, are their belief systems and values in alignment with you? You've got to be very, 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 very careful. What happens if you do what they call joint finances? You know, two names on the same bank account, two names on the mortgage, two names on the property or the title, two names on the car or the car payments, or being the mother and father of one child or several children. All of a sudden, when you do that in a formalized way, you become accountable to the courts, the laws, the doctors, the schools, and the neighborhood. And so does the partner. See, and then you start to realize, like, why didn't we talk about this before we got hooked up or married? Like, I mean, I love having sex with you, or I would love to have sex with you, but it would help to know in advance if our belief system and our values are in alignment. Because if they are not, then ultimately the rest of it just falls apart. So to me, it feels like with this reading so far, Alicia, what this is more like right now is just like a wake-up call to understand like the bigger, broader dynamics. What's the problem here? Okay, to me it makes me feel like you have loved and lost already, to the point that it has caused extreme grief, pain, and sorrow, and you are very, very scared of being burned again. Even though you might want to have a beautiful Two of Cups thing going forward so that you can live your life again, or if you are in a state of transition right now, it would be understandable, like if you have already been loving and you've already been loved, and then only to discover that you were innocent. You had no idea about the full ramifications of love and relationships. And then you discovered the hard way. Oh my God, if only I had known then what I know now. Oh my God, I don't want to get burned again. I can't take it. That's understandable, okay, Delicia? So, with this reading so far, to me it doesn't look like anything like, oh, is there somebody waiting for me? Or has anybody spotted me? Are they going to come after me? Is anybody out there that I've spotted that I can go and chase or whatever, however it looks? It's not that at all. To me this looks like it's very much about you coming to terms with yourself and looking at your world of life, love, and relationships from a new perspective. How are we going to move forward with all of this? This is not a crippling situation, okay, Delicia? This is much more to do with awareness. Understanding that in some ways love is blind, and sometimes people can't help themselves. And you just go for it anyway. Risking everything. Wow, I could get completely destroyed here. Oh wow, this could be beautiful. Who knows? It's scary sometimes. What are we going to do going forward? Okay, with the Knight of Swords here, my feeling is the way to go forward is to bring a lot more clarity into any kind of love relationship dynamic, especially in terms of communication, where you make it your business that in order not to get burned and experience extreme pain and sorrow and loss, having trusted and merged yourself with another person and another person merged with you, only to experience loss and failure. Instead, the way to go forward is to make it your business to love and be loved on the understanding that it's really important to know the truth and the facts about a situation. So when I talked about all these issues here with values, value systems, and all the other stuff I mentioned, the other aspects of love and relationship, where some people think that's all there is, like flirting at the office means, getting laid and getting married. Okay, who knows? But anyway, the point that I'm trying to get to here with the Knight of Swords for you, Delisha, is like going forward, it's important, to me it feels like in your own very loving, romantic, diplomatic kind of way, it's very important to kind of very discreetly discern the value systems and the beliefs and the expectations about any kind of relationship or potential partner or existing partner going forward, so that you don't want any ambiguity. In other words, let's just say, I love you and you love me and this is a new date. And everything seems great for a while, then you start to notice creepy things about money. And you start to think like, oh my God, they're burning up their credit cards, taking me out on a date, but they're actually bankrupt or borderline bankrupt. And then I'm going to be the one who gets burned. I'll get burned financially. So you have to be very astute, very alert, very aware to find out the exact facts and truth of the exact nature of the relationship. Like, it's almost like, forget the sex, forget the romance, forget the dating, forget the potential dream of actually having a loving relationship. None of that matters unless you already have an understanding in advance that you're being very true to yourself, that you do not want to get burned, perhaps in ways that you were burned before, and you need someone else to be very true and honest and direct and open with you. In other words, it's almost like doing an interview. Let's say you start dating or something, going with somebody, or you rekindle something or something like that. It's really important. To me, it feels like almost it's time, in a very sweet, fun, kind of cute way, to ask some very awkward, embarrassing questions. I'm not kidding. I'm serious here, okay, Delisha? It's almost like pretend you're hanging out with someone. You've been around, okay, Delisha? Let's say you've been loving, you've been loved. You had, some good experiences and some bad experiences, and you're having a sweet time with someone. You can tell them, listen, I'm just going to tell you up front, I'm really attracted to you, and I have a feeling you've got a little bit of the tingles to me as well. So that's fine. So let's just say we kind of like connect, baby. Fine. But I'm just letting you know up front, I'm not a sucker. I don't care if we hook up or not, because I don't really care if we do. On the other hand, if we do, and it does work out, I want to know that there's something else. I want to know what's actually going on here. I don't want to be scammed or conned or drawn into something where I have serious regrets later on. So I just want to ask you a few very awkward, embarrassing questions, if you don't mind. Okay, Delisha? And if the other party kind of goes like, good night, bye, gotta go, let them go. If the other person goes like, oh, that's interesting, okay, I've never had a date like this before, bring it on. What do you want to know? Ask me some questions, okay? And then you kind of dive into it, and it becomes fun. Oh, look at what Necessary just typed on the screen here. Delisha, ain't no romance without finance. Get it? It doesn't mean it has to be all serious and mean and nasty. You don't have to go up to them and say, how much money do you have? Where does it all come from? How much debt do you have? Are you actually trying to be all flashy, burning up credit cards, and you're deeply in debt and you expect me to bail you out while we're getting laid? Because that's not going to work for me. Or, I mean, whatever the other scenario is like. Maybe they're behaving very conscientiously and quietly, and you might stumble on someone who's actually very thoughtful, truthful, respectful, kind, patient, honest, and they're good with money too. Like they already know how to take care of themselves, and so they just want to hang out with someone who would appreciate their company, you know? It's really, really, really important, okay, Delisha? I know it's probably the last thing that people want to ever deal with in love and relationships because it's so brutal and it's so raw. But the money stuff is really, really important going forward. To me, it feels like with this reading, it's like ding, 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 ding. Let's start from scratch, okay, Delisha? Start from scratch. Just look at love and relationships from a whole new perspective. Give yourself permission to be completely wide open. What have you got to lose? Okay? And then just when it feels right, discreetly and maybe overtly get to the subject of money. Like, for example, hey, what happens if we get pregnant? Or if you got a couple of leftover kids from another relationship, how do you expect me to deal with that? I've already done that. I'm not sure if I want to have other kids or someone else's kid. But yeah, you got to deal with all this stuff because there are so many aspects of love and relationship that crush down to money. Yeah, barf. But it's true, okay? Let's leave it at that. Okay, Necessary is deep in it right now. You guys can go chat on the sides. I'm going to move on, all right? Delisha, I hope that helped you, all right? It's totally wide open, okay? It's totally up to you. I hope the reading helped. All right, let's shuffle it all up. RSH, you're up. Now, you got issues going on with work. And when you put I saw a couple of notes there, and my first instinct was this is something to do with what you had to bring something to the attention of the higher ups. So that sounds like a little bit of a whistleblower situation, okay? And it's kind of awkward, RSH. You probably know this, but almost nobody likes a whistleblower except from long distance. Nobody wants to know a whistleblower. No one wants to protect a whistleblower. Because what happens if they whistleblow on you? Duh. Once a whistleblower blows the whistle, it's almost like they are marked for life. Just look at what happened. Okay, RSH, you'll understand this. You're a very, very smart person, okay? You understand business and money and finance. You know all that scandal about the Hunter Biden laptop and all that squalid filth is coming out about the corruption of the Bidens and the Obamas and the Clintons regarding Ukraine and all this dirty money from China and other places, and it just goes on and on and on. It's a classic textbook story about corruption at the highest levels of American politics. We had the elections a few years ago, then we had the one last year and all of that, and it's become unstoppable. The mainstream media is having a really, really hard time of suppressing the squalid truth about what goes on in Washington with all the commies up there who are selling America to line their own personal pockets. at the expense of America, at the expense of our freedom, at the expense of our sovereign rights for the rest of time. Remember that the freedom that we got in 1776 was very hard won. It was very brutal. It's very ugly. America still has a lot of blood on its conscience, and those are other stories, regarding slavery and Native American Indians and all of that, and currency wars and American hegemony and American empire building. But still, the United States is the last remaining beacon of freedom. And that is under extreme threat right now, and you know that. You know that extremely well. So, one of the stories that's coming out is about Hunter Biden and the Biden laptop, and all the squalid truth that is being revealed. It is so squalid that if our country was working properly, then Hillary and Joe and Hunter and Barack and Bush, they would all be in prison now. But the judges and the courts and the Supreme Court, they don't do anything, and they won't do anything because they're all dirty as well. They're all dirty. So you end up with just a storyline that just goes around, but nothing much happens. And all the dirty, the thieves, they get away with it. Yeah, they might be held accountable in terms of the public arena, but the chances of them going into prison or Guantanamo, I feel, are pretty minimal. Because the people at the very top look after themselves, and they'll find a way to make it all kind of fuzzy and disappear, okay? But look at it this way: anyone who blows a whistle. Okay, so what I was trying to get to, the point is, dear RSH, the point I was trying to get to is, did you see that guy recently? He's the actual guy who received the Hunter Biden laptop and realized this is a bomb. This is a time bomb that needs to be defused. So he gave it over to the military side of the FBI rather than the CIA. He gave it to the military side because he realized there was a certain part of the American government that is still patriotic and respects the Constitution. So he gave it to them, and they went through it all, and they realized and discovered the depth of squalor that is just saturated Wall Street. So that guy, the whistleblower, the guy who accepted and received Hunter Biden laptop, and he blew the whistle on Hunter Biden and brought that laptop to the attention of the authorities. He is now a whistleblower. His life is completely ruined. He is destroyed. He's had death threats. He's had people coming after him. His business is destroyed. For the rest of his life, he is now a target. He is a massive target. Being a whistleblower is a very scary thing. I'm not trying to scare you away from being a whistleblower, but you have to understand what happens with the identity of whistleblowers. It might be that you're doing the world a great favor, and it might be that some people very high up are going, "Thank you very much, RSH. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. That's great. Thank you very much." And then the very people that you're informing, they turn around and tell their buddies, "Oh my God, we're fucked. We've got a whistleblower here. They're on to us." Hello, RSH. Thank you so much. Would you like, let's have a meeting. Let's talk about this. How can we resolve this situation? You get my point? Anyway, I'm not trying to scare you, but let's do your reading anyway. Now, it could be a sweet reading or it could be scary. I don't know. let's have a look. Here, let's have a look. Oh, what's on there in the chat? What's that? Oh, so good. Sorry, hey Janet, I see you. I'm sorry about the upset. I don't see how I can help in that way right now. Ouch! It's been a very volatile evening, and I'm going to blame it on the planets, okay? As you know, I showed you my astrodoodle, and it's just a single red bar of stress. And that's for the whole world. Now, there are some people who are probably having an absolutely fantastic time right now. If you are one of those people at the very top of the elite, at the very top of the cabal, you're probably having a better time in life than you've ever had before. Because there are people at the very top who are profiting astronomically from the demise of the rest of the world. Please understand that. All right, let's have a look. See what's going on. Okay, RSH. I didn't see any notes here on the screen, so I'm just going to go for it. I hope you're still there. What did I just do? Oh, okay. All right, here we go. Let's have a look. Yeah, sorry, RSH. I was rambling about the whole whistleblower, workplace, truth-telling kind of stuff. All right. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. What kind of messages do we have here tonight for RSH regarding that work situation? And I think she said something in the notes about a subject that she felt need to be brought to the attention of the higher-ups. Let's have a look. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. And let's have a look at the external influences. Okay, here we go. Again. So we got the Seven of Pentacles here. So it feels to me, it's like in a way you're already on top of this, RSH. Like, to me this feels like this card, the Seven of Pentacles, is affirming your position. In other words, if you think of Pentacles in terms of wealth, business, money, success, future, stability, career, and all that good stuff that is the result of hard work, investment over time. And with the Seven of Pentacles, we are at a point where all of that abundance is heavily impacted and, let's say, what's the word? It's impacted. It is restricted by an overgrowth of unwelcome influences. Now, in this situation, if you think of it like as a vine in a farming field or something, the fruits of the vine and all of that, where things were not managed or tended properly, to the point where, think of a French vineyard for very classy wine. Like, if you do not take care of the vines properly, if you do not regularly check the condition of the soil, prune the leaves, prune the fruits, make sure there's the right amount of water and everything, those vines are very, very sensitive. And so if you let the weeds grow, let's just say there's a few little weeds in the ground, and they are left unattended for a while, and then those weeds start to, let's say, infect the vineyard or the plantation or the olive grove or the almond grove or the grove of business where the business grows. For example, let's say in the higher up administration of your situation, let's say there is corruption. Let's say there are a few weeds that need to be weeded out. Then that is the situation. To me, all this card is saying is that we've already identified the situation. The card is endorsing and validating the situation. And then the question is, holy shit, what are we going to do about this? Now, in your situation, if you are the one who spotted the growth and the mismanagement of the weeds, and by the weeds I mean certain particular people that are not operating in the best interest of business overall, then that's a very, very awkward, difficult position. What's the situation itself? Okay, so with the Queen of Cups energy here, my feeling is that you're coming at this situation with purity and only the best of intentions. There's a lot of love here, and I think I've come across this energy with you before. This is like what I think of almost right now. I've done this with other queen cards, but with the Queen of Cups, it's the Lady Di energy. Lady Diana, she was a very big deal in the 80s because she was very loved by the world population because she was very kind and generous with her affections and her resources, and she just spread love all over the world like peanut butter and jelly, and everybody loved it. So my feeling here is that for yourself, you're coming at your situation with a very pure and loving intent. In other words, I only want what works. I only want to do the right thing. I want to do what works for me, RSH, and for the company and for the people. And that's great. That's just absolutely wonderful, okay? But it does come with a huge question mark, okay? Especially if you are the one who is observing, or you are the one who has become aware of what is not working and why it is not working. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What can I do? How can I help the situation? How can I help the company? How can I help the people so that it works out great for everybody? So in some ways there's a little bit of naivety here because the nature of the weeds is not really benevolent, okay? The weeds don't care about you or the company or the success of the business or the clients or the customers or anything. The weeds only care about themselves in the moment, in the now, to get whatever they can, however they can get it for themselves at the expense of everyone and everything else, okay? So what are the challenges here? Wow. To me it looks like there's a lot at stake. This is the Ten of Pentacles. In other words, if you do not address the problem, the potential wealth and success abundance, not only for you, but for customers or clients or associates or everyone else involved in the enterprise or the situation or the organization, that is in extreme jeopardy due to the weeds. On the other hand, the other part of the big question here is like, wow, let's say I do address the situation and I go knocking on a door and I say, hey, listen, we've got a serious problem here and I'm sending an anonymous okay, let's look at this. Sorry, let me finish here. So in other words, there's a lot at stake here. So if you do point out the issues and the problems with the weeds, then there is the potential to salvage the wealth and the abundance and the success that is deserved. And if you don't bring it out, there's a potential to lose all of that. And while I was reading this card here, I felt something a little bit sort of off on a tangent that might be useful to you. Before I go to this card on how we're going to deal with the situation, what I wanted to suggest, RSH, is this. Okay. You know how in some corporations, like big supermarkets or places where there are lots of employees at every level, like a cashier, a floor sweeper, a delivery person, a stocker, a loader, an executive, a logistics tech person, layers and layers and layers and layers of employees. And at the very, very top, the bosses decide, you know what? We are going to weed out corruption before it takes a hold and destroys the company. So we're going to put suggestion boxes everywhere. We're going to put them on the computers, on the walls, in the offices, in the break rooms, in the coffee rooms, in the warehouses, near the cards where you clock in and clock out. We're going to put a suggestion box. And we'll put a notice on the suggestion box. Dear employee, if you have any issues that feel you need to bring to our attention, please let us know. And so let's say you do that and you're innocent and you're loving, you're caring, and you sign it. Thank you. I want to tell you that there's some real shit going on in this department with these people. Signed RSH. And then 10 days later, you're fired. Okay. So perhaps it's handy to be anonymous. So perhaps if there is a situation or a formula or an avenue where you can be a whistleblower and at the same time remain anonymous, then that could possibly be an option for you. The downside is that it's very, very possible that even by submitting a message as a whistleblower, like this, this, and this, and this is wrong, there are certain people in a certain department that are out of line. Even if you do it anonymously, there are people perhaps higher up in the chain who are also extremely corrupt, and they could identify you simply by putting some pieces together like, oh, the only way this message from this whistleblower could have come about is because of RSH, because we've already been watching her, because she's already she's too good. She knows we are corrupt at the top. Because a lot of corporations do that in America. There are a lot of corporations where the people at the very, very top are the most corrupt people in the organization. Duh! Okay? And so if you trust and believe in an organization where I better tell them that there's some really dirty, crazy, bad things going on at level 7 out of 11 levels, then at level 11, they might be going, oh my God, this RSH, we know it's RSH, it couldn't be anyone else. How are we going to get rid of her? We can't just fire her because then she can sue us for wrongful termination. Ooh. And so everything becomes very awkward and very, very tricky, okay? So let's go back to the reading. I don't want to preempt this card here. How are we going to deal with this going forward? Because it's all very noble to spot something that's really not good. It's very noble to want to be a whistleblower and come from a very loving intention. And it's very noble to understand, wow, if I called it out and we save the enterprise, the organization, then we're all going to be okay. It's also important to understand, if I don't call it out, then there's an awful lot to lose. Oh no, what am I going to do? Oh my, oh my shit. Oh, dear, RSH. Ha! You've got an Ace of Swords here. So this is a card of sacred opportunity. It's here. It's a very powerful card, the way I see it in this reading. It's up to you to grab it or not. You don't have to. It's an opportunity. Okay, it's aces. Like, my God, what happens if I do decide to be a whistleblower and run with this situation the way TL described it? Well, you could be a frickin' hero. You could actually end up as a frickin' hero. And you could be a hero and be a whistleblower and be appreciated, valued, and valuable. Statistically, all I'm suggesting here with the storyline is that that would be an ideal outcome. So it's an opportunity. So in other words, it's almost like this reading is no help to you at all, because it's not going to tell you to be the whistleblower or not. Instead, this reading looks like it's all about trying to inform you about the reality of your situation, in that there is potentially a lot at stake for the organization and everybody associated with the organization, but also for you. In other words, if you decide to grab the opportunity and call out the absolute truth for what it is, you could be a freaking hero. On the other hand, it could be an absolute disaster for you personally, even though it could be, maybe you've helped everybody else. I'm drawing a comparison with that story with the Hunter Biden laptop, and it's like, he didn't plan this. He didn't ask for it. He didn't want it. He made a value judgment. He realized that there was a tremendous amount at stake with the Hunter Biden laptop, and he decided, I'm just going to do it. And now his personal life is destroyed. It's completely ruined. Something good will come out for him eventually. Some group of patriots will find a way to bring him under their wing, to make it worth his while having been a whistleblower against the evil corruption. Now, I don't know the details of what's happening for you, but all I know here with the Ace of Swords is that it's an opportunity. You have every opportunity right now to call it out. And it would be just and honest and true and infused with love. But there is a lot at stake. Okay? This looks like it's a very open-ended reading here, because it is an ace. Like, you don't have to do this. In other words, you could just keep your mouth shut, and you could just pretend like none of this is happening and just carry on. There you go. And just things will just carry on as they are. On the other hand, if you are aware, or you have become aware of the degree of corruption and things that are not right, and you feel a calling deep in your heart to do something about it, because you're aware that there is so much at stake, and you decide to do something about it, it takes a lot of courage, and you could be doing people a great favor. Does that mean it's going to work for you? I don't know, because of the whistleblower characteristics. Whistleblowers, in some ways, are highly valued and highly appreciated by a certain sector of that population that you exposed. But for other people, you are the ultimate enemy. So you've got to be aware of both sides, okay? So if you have to call it out and you want to call it out, freaking call it out. That's it. Just call it out and give yourself over to the laws of nature, the laws of universe. Hello, Lesiele. Greetings. I'm just going to read the note here from RSH. Yeah, I felt like I got to my breaking point watching my colleagues getting abused. Me too, but not quite as much. But still, I could not continue dealing with it. Okay. All right, so let's look at it this way. Okay, RSH? Everything is being revealed right now. The squalor and the abuse, okay? It's very evident. You've got to reveal it to heal it. It started right here on the new moon with you. So what I'm suggesting is that you let this thing digest and simmer inside of you. And now that you have brought this into an open conversation, it is now public discourse. Your situation is now made public here on this channel. I would suggest you let that percolate inside you, because as the moon transits over the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 days, basically up to the full moon, there's going to be lots of trigger points, okay? In fact, if I'm correct, let me just double check this. We are heading into an eclipse at the end of April. And at that point, it will be a Scorpio moon opposing a Taurus sun. I want to just double check here. Give me a second. Let's see. Stay right there. Don't go away. Just stay right there. I'm going to... I want to double check something here. I'm clicking around doing some homework for you, okay, RSH? Yep, there it is. It is a new moon solar eclipse, April 30th, okay? That's the Taurus sun and the Taurus moon. So we're talking a month away. Okay, so let me get back to you. I'm just doing my homework on the side here. Okay, so dear, oh, you already called it out. Okay, okay. All right, so RSH, if you've already called it out and it's happening, and you're in discussions with management, please allow for it to reach a culmination when the moon is in Libra over here in about 2 weeks from now. Okay, it'll be roughly a full moon. Somewhere around here, Libra, Scorpio, somewhere in there. I can't see my charts exactly right now. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me see if I can pull out some exact dates for you. 16th is... Okay, on the 16th. Okay, we have a full moon on the 16th. That means it will be... moon will be in Libra. Okay, moon will be in Libra opposing the Aries energy. So it is very much about relationship dynamics here. So, given everything that we just talked about here, please allow that roughly every 2 days, it just so happens with this particular chart over the next few weeks, in fact the next month, the moon is very, very prominent in the way things play out. Because all these planets are in very, very tight clusters. I talked about it earlier. So right now the moon is over here in Taurus. It'll be in Gemini, then Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. So during those periods over the next 2 weeks, roughly every 2 days, there is going to be a hotspot trigger point to do with your emotions, your feelings, in what you have just exposed. If you've already called it out and you're having meetings with these managers, then please allow and prepare for volatility. Please prepare for, I would say, a lot of back and forth where it could be 1 minute, at one moment it could be like, how can I do this? Like, oh, dear RSH, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. We want things to work really, really well. Thank you very much. Let's think about this. We'll talk. Let's set up a meeting for tomorrow or in a couple of days from now. And then the managers look at each other and go like, what the fuck? Who does she think she is? She's outing us. We got a great thing going here, man. How are we going to shut her down? And let the next meeting. Hello, RSH. Hi. Thank you so much. You're one of our top producers. This is so much. Now you have to understand, we don't really want things to go bad for you. Do we? So we understand your issues, but if there was such an issue of abuse, like, why wouldn't these people come up and mention something themselves? Why have you taken it upon yourself to do something about this? Why are you pointing fingers at us? We love what you do. Thank you so much. Okay, that's the end of the meeting for tonight. And then a couple of days later, what the fuck are we going to do now? She's not backing down. She's smarter than us. She's caught us. She's calling us out. What are we going to do? You know, there are legal processes. Like, she could come at us. And so on and so on. So do you see what I'm talking about here? Dear RSH, like, you know what? I have to tell you, like, there's some awful things happening in the workplace right now. And, you know, you're the guys being, you're the people being blamed. I just want to let you know I'm trying to help you. All sweet and innocent, and like, that's great. Thanks, RSH. You're a real asset. You're wonderful. Meeting is over. Goodbye. That shit happens, and you get into the human resources department for a company or a corporation or an organization, and then human resources are like, this isn't really our department. We don't want to get involved with it. If we take action on this, it's going to have terrible repercussions for the whole company, the whole organization. Are you sure you want to do this? And then, see, human resources, they have all sorts of like legal obligations themselves. So it's almost like you've opened a door to some difficulties. Okay, anyway, there we go. All right. So with the Ace of Swords here, to me it almost feels like it's an opportunity to go forward on pure, blind, raw truth and innocence. Knowing that you were utterly guided and protected along the way. I don't have the star card here or anything like that. But knowing that there is a lot at stake. You could almost present the situation like, oh, I know how it is, you know. There's a lot at stake here. Like, I didn't want to be the whistleblower and all this stuff, but I know what happens in human resources. Like, maybe it's better if we deal with this issue now before it really blows up in your face, dear managers. Anyway, I hope that helped you, RSH. Tina, you're up. So, dear RSH, could you please send a donation by email, however you did it last time, I can't remember, terralumination.com donate page or something like that. Thank you so much. I hope that helped. Tina, you're up. I'm just going to shuffle up, clear things up here. I know, Tina, you're very concerned about many of the issues that concern me too personally. I get it. So in some ways, we're kind of on a similar wavelength. Let me just clear the deck, okay, Tina, and we'll get to you. Oh, by the way, Tina, since we've shared like similar places where we get information. I like Mark Moss. I like Neil McCoy Ward. I like WION. I like France 24. I like DW News from Germany. I like some of the Fox News things because it's like entertainment news, but they are sort of on the side of the Patriots, which is where I am affiliated. But I also do check in with the mass media every now and again because it's entertaining to listen to their BS. And it helps me understand, so I have a reference point. Because remember, the mainstream media are experts at propaganda. The mainstream media is owned by the American oligarchs. Talk about Russian oligarchs. They're fine, whoever they are. But the American oligarchs, they dwarf the Russian oligarchs, okay? And the American oligarchs essentially own the mass media. Uh-oh. Lesiele, Hetiake, I see you. All right, that's going to be the last reading. So I got to do a reading for Tina here. Okay, Tina, and then that's Lesiele. Lesiele, that's going to be the last reading for tonight. I didn't expect that. I thought we were just going to be finished. Here we go. I'll just put that here. Tina, we're up. Let's see what's going on. Cheers, Tina. Thank you again for your kindness. Shuffling up. Hi, Lesiele. I see you. When will I see you again? When will I see you again? Da 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 do 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 la 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 da 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 da. Anyway, never mind. When will I see you again? When will I see you again? When will I see you again? Ba da ba bum bum ba bum bum. Do 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 do. La 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 la. Precious moments. Precious moments is not here, but that word is in the song. When will I see you again? All right, Tina, here we go. Let's have a look what's going on. Tina, as you know, as everybody knows here, Tina is very aware of what's going on with planet Earth, all the good stuff and the bad stuff. And Tina is also a professional carer. A long career in caring, now considering going back to in next level caring. And of course, everybody knows Tina is famous for having little Ava, the German Shepherd dog, who I think went through training as a what do they call it? what's the word? Search and rescue, SAR, search and rescue, SAR. Little Ava, the potential SAR dog. Apparently little Ava is actually quite a handful. Not quite a handful, but a serious handful. It's lucky for Ava that she has you, Tina. That's the way I see it. All right, here we go, Tina. Let's see what's going on. This will be a blind reading because I didn't see any notes. So we'll look here. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. And let's have a look at these surrounding influences. Oh, I don't know what's hurting you, or if there is anything, or if you're even aware that there is some kind of vibe regarding grief or sorrow. I have a feeling that for you, Tina, this 5 of Cups is something to do with almost like you might not even be conscious of it, but you might be picking up the pain and suffering of the collective. Okay? Literally, I'm talking about the collective of the whole world right now. Because there are literally billions of people on earth right now who are in deep pain, in deep suffering, and deep poverty. They live in squalor. At least 1 billion. Ukraine is just one very vivid example because it's very, very close to, let's say, our sensibilities in terms of the way we understand East v. West. Bad versus good. Ooh. Good versus evil. Okay? But there's a lot more going on. And the thing is, Tina, you can't help it because you're a professional. Compassion is your business. You made it a career for many years. And you soak it up. So my feeling with the 5 of Cups here surrounding you is that you are literally feeling the collective pain right now. Deep, 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 as though it's your own personal pain. Saturn is in Aquarius right now. And that's very hard for humanity. Saturn in Aquarius is all about the pain and the testing and the suffering and the challenges facing the bulk of humanity. Mars is in Aquarius right now, representing the vicious side of the abusers of humanity, but it also represents the freedom fighters, the people who want freedom, liberation, sovereign self for we the people. Venus wants that too. But on the global stage, and when you look at the news feeds and everything, it's actually very painful and very, very tragic, okay? Explosions are coming, second Saturn return. Okay, well that would make a lot of sense. Okay, now, for those people who are like, watch the astrology really closely, it's right now, the sun is over here in Aries, which is is very comfortable with the Aquarius energy. But it's moving through Taurus. Eventually it's going to move through Taurus. That's going to be very volatile. I'm sensing there's going to be a lot of upheaval and violence, more what we would call war. Then the Gemini, and then the Cancer, and then the Leo. When the Sun and Mercury and Venus and those planets, the really, really tight, close planets, personal planets, get into Leo, it's going to be hard oppositions with Saturn in Aquarius. And that's going to be a very, very bumpy time. Okay? That's going to be in the middle of 2022. So, and also the Virgo season, the Libra season, I was talking to this about with Love Triber a while back, but up until the later parts of 2022, it's just a shitstorm, okay? for everybody, for the whole of planet Earth. And for you, Tina, I think you're feeling it intensely, especially since you're confiding that you're heading towards a Saturn return, especially if you have Saturn in Aquarius. So what's the situation itself? To me, it feels like all you want to do is good. You can't help yourself. This is a very kind, rich, noble energy where it feels to me like what you would really like to do is be as effective as you can with your resources. In other words, your time, your money, your energy, your skills, and your experience in life. You have a lot to offer. And the question is, how can you... To me, how can you share that? Because it seems to me like you can't help yourself, and so because you've already mentioned it on the channel about, like you said here in the notes, it's like you're feeling drawn into wanting to get back into the workplace, the career. Now you don't have to. I guess technically speaking, maybe financially speaking, maybe you don't have to. On the other hand, there's a sense of purpose and meaning, and you've already kind of lived a whole life as being a professional caregiver, and some people, when they reach that point, like they realize, actually, I don't want to stop. I don't want to be a retiree. I don't want to retire. I don't want to just sit around and go for walks all day and watch YouTube and Netflix and eat ice cream and whatever it is. So my feeling here is that you're really evaluating your situation, all of your agglomerated resources, and trying to figure out, how can I best make the most use of this? This is a very rich, noble card. All the resources, talents, and gifts that you have are hard-earned and well-deserved. And so the question is, what am I going to do with that now? Here's the problem. Let's have a look. Okay, so with the Four of Pentacles, again, it's very much to do with about tangible resources. It's very obvious you do not want to impoverish yourself, even though you might be very driven to be kind and generous to other people. It's almost like the worst thing you could possibly do is just, like give money to charity, or work for nothing, or just help homeless people or something like that. Because deep down you are aware that there's only so much that you can do. And so there's another side to this with the Four of Pentacles. It's a very strong card about building foundations and making structures and creating a castle and a moat so that you are indestructible and so that you have safety and security for the long term. So my feeling here is that on the positive side of this, like, you're very aware that if you don't do something about creating and your stability and security and finances for the long term, you could be at risk as being your own worst enemy. Like, oh my God, in the next few years, I could just easily give it all away because I can't help myself. Oh no! How are we going to deal with this? Hey, Precious, what's going on? I have to go back to nursing, transferring my license to Montana. Wow, okay, that's awesome. Let's have a look. So how are we going to deal with the situation? Because obviously there's, with all these pentacles, this is really hardcore. This is very serious. It's happening in your day-to-day work life regarding money. What am I going to do with myself, my time, my gifts, my talents, resources? Part of it is like, I have to do something. And part of it is like, oh my God, if I don't do something, I could easily squander it all away. How are we going to... Look at this. More pentacles. Yay! Oh, with the Nine of Pentacles here, Tina, it makes me feel very confident for you. Like you're absolutely on the right path. Like if you have made up your mind to get certified and your license set up so that you can operate as a nurse in Montana, that's very, very good news for you. It is a pathway to creating financial stability and security so that you actually enjoy being you. You actually get paid for doing something that you love to do. In other words, you can't help yourself being a nurse, a compassion junkie. But you can't do that just by giving it all away. So to me, this reading looks like it's very, very supportive of you. Like this is a really strong affirmation that, yes, there's a lot of tragedy in the world right now. And yes, I have a feeling and like a sense of obligation that I must help and that I can help. And I'm going to do this in ways that are tangible and measurable. And if that means recertified as a nurse and getting paid and then going to work and doing that, that is not only good for the moment, but that's also very good for your long-term stability. You know, years from now, years and years from now, where you literally can't work anymore. Okay? So to me, this is a very encouraging reading. Okay, Tina? I'm really happy for you. To me, it feels like you're really on top of it. You understand your situation, the challenges, and everything that's at stake. I see a lot of goodness here with the Nine of Pentacles. It's like you actually get off on work. You actually get off of being in the workplace, knowing that you're contributing, helping, and healing. And then you get paid for it. There we go. So I'm very happy for you, Tina. This is kind of almost like a no-brainer reading here for you. Yes, the motivation might all be based on tragedy and pain, but knowing that you have the skills, talents, gifts to do something about it, there you go. You're doing it. You know that if you don't do anything about it, it could be frittered away. So if you do something about it, you could actually really enhance yourself, your life, and your world. I would love to get a reading like this for myself, Tina. I have to tell you. Seriously, man. All right, Lesieli, you're up. Let's have a look. Thank you, Tina. I'm going to shuffle it up. Tina, I don't know what that means. That looks like all sorts of licenses and permits and whatever. So if you have to get re-permitted, retested, re-licensed, it sounds like a really, really good thing to do, a really noble thing to do. I know you mentioned something about the Saturn return, and Saturn is very much about destiny and career and everything. So look at it this way, Tina. Talking about a Saturn return. Let's look at it. Most people are scared of Saturn returns, but in your situation, if you handle it right, a Saturn return can really, really work for you. In other words, like you said, fun times ahead. If you, let's say you do all the responsible stuff, the tasks and the challenges of getting yourself recertified so that you can get back into the career, you could look at you're looking at creating a brand new Saturn cycle for another 30 years. Takes you way, 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 way into the land of retirement. Okay? So this looks like a really good plan. Like you might be able to work Let's get totally recertified multi-state. Get in the workplace 2, 3, 5, 7, 11 years, whatever it is. Get those pensions. Get those savings. Set it all up so that when you get to the point where, like, I literally can't do this anymore, at least you can chill, sit back, put your feet up and look at the world around you and know that you did the very best. And the world will just carry on anyway, okay? Hello, Precious. I see you. Precious, I can't do any more readings tonight. Oh, let me mention while Precious is here. Hold on, let me go over here a second. I want to... Oh, wow, that's amazing, Precious. You were actually there with one of those humanitarian airplanes. Wow. Wait a minute, I see something from you, Leslie. It says, how is love looking for me? I've been thinking of moving. My Taurus talked about starting over again after not speaking for 2 months. Whoa, hold on. Let me catch up, okay? There's a lot of men who like me, but I'm not interested in them. Just my Taurus. Okay, that's fine. Let's have a look. Work is stressing you out too. Leslie, I'm just trying to go through the chat right now to check on your notes, see if I missed anything. Thank you. Hope you're doing well. Tina, 8 years still. Okay, all right. Anyway, Tina, to me it looks good, really good for you, okay? Yeah, it's work. Yeah, with Saturn issues. But like the work-money equation, career, capitalizing on your gifts, talents, and resources while you're still a very active, vital woman, that's fantastic. Let's yell in. Let me have a look. Let's have a look. Leslie, I'm happy for you in that your Taurus person got back to you and like your note said, like consider, what about starting over? You know, people do that. People go in stages. Sometimes relationships evolve in stages, you know. Okay, no more readings tonight. That's it. Leslie, that's it. Thank you very much. Give me a second here. I got to check something. Hold on. I'm just trying to organize myself a little bit. All right, we're here. I just want to say hi. Leslie, good evening. This is Tarot Lumination. Hi, thank you for visiting. Thank you for booking me for a little live mini reading. We're going to focus, like you mentioned, like there's this Taurus person and he's there and still there. But it looks like, you know, start over, try again. That's part of the process. They call it the mating game, you know. Sometimes the mating game goes on for years. Have you ever watched, and this is going to sound crazy, okay, Leslie, but sometimes it's really beautiful to watch YouTube videos or some of those nature videos about birds or animals in nature and about their mating behavior. And you can see how sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes when it works, it involves a lot of time and effort and confusion and miscommunication and misunderstanding until you get to a point where both parties decide, you know what, We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Yay. Okay. So, anyway, let me get back. We're going to start the reading now. Here we go. I'm going to shuffle just a teeny bit more. Hold on. Oh, where are we? Let's go over here. Where am I? Okay, try that. Oh, there we are. Okay. Cheers. Cards are already shuffled, but I'm going to go again. I want to make sure things are nice and pristine for you. Okay, let's get it. All right, so what messages do we have here tonight for Lesieli? In particular, this Taurus fellow, but whatever else comes up too, okay? We'll just see. You said you had some work issues that were uncomfortable. Where was that? Work is stressing you out too. Okay, understandable. Here we go. Okay. Thank you for visiting, Lesieli. Thank you for booking me for a live mini reading. It really, really helps to keep the channel going. Okay, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. As you know, because I didn't mention it earlier, but for anyone who's watching, who've never done this before, this is my situation spread. Okay? That's all it is. From my perspective, it is a custom-built spread that is like a precision diagnostic tool. It's very similar to what auto technicians use in an auto tech shop to try and figure out what's the problem with the car. What they do is they take their $5,000 diagnostic machine and they plug it into a little thing under the dashboard by the steering wheel, and that tells them everything that they need to know about the vehicle. And once they know what the problem is, of course you have to reveal it to heal it, then the auto technician can figure out what to do. That's all we do here. Whether I'm talking with the president of a country or somebody in Sri Lanka or New Zealand or Australia, it doesn't matter. It's the same reading, the same spread. Okay? All right, here we go. What's going on externally with the Six of Wands here? To me, there's a powerful energy of expectation. The way I'm going to explain this, Lesieli, is this. I don't know if this is going to make sense or not, but okay, look at it this way. Please give yourself permission to feel good about what's happening. It's okay to feel good. Of course, it's perfectly natural to be scared and concerned and wondering, like, what's not working? But with the laws of attraction, the way they work, if you keep focusing on what is not working, let's say that you do a reading every week for 6 months, and it's all about like the problems that are what's not working. Guess what happens? You're putting energy towards what is not working. And then the laws of attraction, guess what happens? You just attract dysfunction. You just attract more and more what's not working. And so a lot of people don't realize that they create their own problems. So when I see the Six of Wands here, to me it's kind of like a very gentle, sweet message, like, hey, Lesieli, like we, your invisible friends, your angels, your guardians, your protectors, your, let's say, spirit friends from the great beyond, even if it's like little pets or dogs or deceased family members, whatever it is, they're all here for you. They're all there for you. So almost like what they're trying to say is like, sometimes things work out, and it's okay to feel okay. It's okay to feel good. It's okay to allow yourself to feel good, even though you're scared that things may or may not work. So when I see the Six of Wands, it's like I feel it's my job as your tarot reader right now, in this moment, to basically say, give yourself permission to feel like you're a winner. Like, wow, I've scored. Now, it might not be forever, but in the moment right now, it's just like, wow, you just put a note on the screen where you said that this Taurus fellow got back to you and said, hey, Lecieli, would it be okay if we started over from the beginning again? That, in its own way, is a gesture of love. That's an indication that they are asking permission from you. Would you consider starting all over again? In other words, they're not telling you, we're going to start over again. They're basically saying, they're asking you. So that is a little tiny telltale sign. It may not be perfect right now, but the things that you look for, the things that really, really count, are things like kindness, patience, consideration, respect, commitment, responsibility, honor, integrity, truth, honesty, and all of those things. Those are the things that really, 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 really count. And so long as you're attracted to this fellow and he's attracted to you, and you've had some kind of conflict that made you pull away, but he's coming back and he's saying, listen, maybe we could start over. That's an indication, especially if he is asking, like a question like, would you be okay to start over? Would you be willing to consider that? He's basically handing the power to you. Like, you don't have to. You could say, you know what, fuck you. You treated me like shit once, that's enough. That's it. Over, you're done, you're a piece of shit. Maybe that's not how this is working out. Maybe it's like, people test each other in the mating rituals. People test each other. Sometimes, when you see these birds, when they're doing these mating rituals, it's really bizarre stuff. But it's also amazing to watch. But it's how they come to a decision to whether this is going to work or not. Are we going to get it together or not? Either way, you have to go through the mating rituals, the mating dances, like whatever that looks like. In the world of exotic birds, it's up to the male to do something that convinces the female that he is the most awesome thing that there is. And then ultimately it is the decision of the female to say, yep, it's you. The others, forget it. I've made my decision. It's you. Okay, you can do me. Come on, let's do it. Come on. And that's kind of how that works. All right, let's get on with the reading itself. So to me, this feels like, dear Lecieli, give yourself permission to feel good. Give yourself permission to feel like you've actually scored. And that's a good thing. It might be a very modest success, a very modest win, but it is a win. All right, let's have a look. What's the situation itself? Okay, so with the Ten of Swords here, my feeling is that you're sick of trying to figure out anything and everything that does not work. You're over it. It's done. I can't take it anymore. I'm sick of living in the stress of always expecting the worst and then receiving the worst, and then there it is. It just proves itself over and over again. Another message here with the Ten of Swords for you, Lecieli, is that without meaning to hurt your feelings, it feels to me like on a very subtle level, it's very important that without realizing it, you might have been the cause of your own demise by literally planting seeds of failure or expecting failure or from previous experience that, oh, if something went wrong, then it's always going to go wrong. And then it just repeats. And then you can basically tell the whole world, I told you, I was fucked. I was completely screwed over from the beginning. I knew it. And guess what happened? It's just another disaster. I told you. And then you realize, oh my God, I'm an expert at being my own worst enemy. Holy shit, why didn't I figure that out before? All I have to do now is change my perspective and give myself permission to actually feel good and allow something good to happen. In other words, it's very easy for you to completely screw up any opportunity that might have a hope of working. And you've become an expert, a complete expert. Okay, so in this reading, I, Tarot Lumination, have the painful job of conveying this message to you that whether you like it or know it or not, you have become an expert at ruining things for yourself. Perhaps in very obvious ways or very subtle ways. Either way, it's just like you could easily look in the mirror or tell everybody else, like, well, I told you so. I told you it was ruined. It never had a chance. So the laws of attraction kick in, and guess what? It's already ruined before it even started. Let's see, what's the challenges here? Okay, to me, with the Five of Swords here, it's just like you might have a past experience of being sucked into lose-lose situations. Or especially lose-lose conversations. You know how a lot of relationships can pivot around conversations or communications about how you communicate with them or they communicate with you. Because, Necessary said earlier, like, without no finance, with no romance, without finance. But it's very similar with communications as well. It's impossible to conduct a loving, healthy relationship without healthy communications. And if you, Lesieli, as a result of maybe some kind of birth situation or your default setting where you are a natural expert at finding the fault in every situation or relationship or dynamic, you end up in a situation where you end up with self-sabotage. Like, oh my God, you're terrified. Like, you could get into just a little simple conversation where just a few words from you or a few words from the other results in sabotage or self-sabotage. Like the relationship is screwed. Like, you said the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time for the wrong reason at the wrong place. And then it's over. So that is a deep fear. It looks like, oh my God. Oh, shit. In other words, if there's a part of you which feels you have to prove that you are right all the time, every day, all day, in love and relationships, that's a recipe for disaster. And you might already know that. And so you end up in a situation like, how can I operate in such a way with communications in love and relationships where I speak and then I allow for the other person to respond. And then when they respond, I give myself time and permission to formulate a response. And so when you operate that way, response, count to 10 seconds, and then another response, count to 10 seconds. That is like a responsible mature way to conduct communications and relationships. On the other hand, if you have a habit, or if you're used to having experiences in relationships where they say something and then you say something, or you say something and they say something, can you see that that is much more about action-reaction, reaction-action, and there's no pause, there's no time for consideration or thought or patience or respect. And then you end up becoming a victim of circumstances, and it becomes a lose-lose situation. All right, so how do we move forward here? Okay, so this is a very different energy. It's much more about team effort here. And to me, it feels like, Lesieli, Tarot Illumination, I don't want to preach to you, okay? I'm just doing a tarot reading here, but I feel it is my role to send a message that the way to deal with the dynamics in your situations, not just with this Taurus person, not just with your work situation and frustrations, but with life in general, is to give yourself some time and patience and room to formulate a response, okay, instead of simply reacting. Because when you react, that's completely unconscious energy. Your reaction is almost always to do with fear, okay? But a response means, oh, I've listened to you, I've listened to the words you've said, I understand what you're trying to say, but it sounds like this or it feels like this, and I will factor that in, and I need a few minutes. Give me a day or two, and I'll get back to you, okay? And I will give you my response. That's very, very different from reacting to somebody in the communications in love, okay? So the way forward, to me it feels like it would be really helpful to you, Lesieli, in terms of looking at things as a team effort. In other words, for love and relationships to work for you, it has to be seen as a team effort. Like, my name's Lesieli. I have a crush on this Taurus person. I've just heard something from the Taurus person that they wouldn't mind getting back and starting from scratch again. And so after this reading, you don't just go, okay, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. Instead, you kind of go, you know what? Let me take that under consideration. Let me think about that for a while. Because if this is going to happen, it's going to be about us. That's we. In other words, if we are going to do it. So it's no longer, the relationship is no longer about me and you, or you and me. The relationship is about us. It is a team effort. In other words, you, dear Taurus person, you can't evolve in this relationship without me. And I, Lesieli, I can't evolve in this relationship without you. So it is a team effort. And in a team effort, that means you constantly have to check in with each other. And so this brings me to the really, really important part of this reading. Hold on, let me see if I can get this in real focus. Hold on. Do you see those 3 pentacles? To me, that takes me towards like what I do when I do really deep, in-depth relationship readings, when I do private readings with people, and I use my crucible spread. And in the crucible spread, it's all about the understanding that in love and relationships, well, in relationships in general, there's you, there's the other, and then there is a third entity called the relationship itself. And the relationship itself has its own identity. It's not you, it's not them. It is its own thing. It is a third entity. Okay? Let's look at it this way, okay? Team effort. Let's say this is Lesieli and this is Taurus person. That's great. But for things to really work, you have to understand and look at everything through the lens and the context of a relationship. Okay, the relationship. So what does the relationship look like? Okay, because you own this relationship. You and the other person own this relationship as a joint ownership thing, okay? Like it's our relationship. It's about us. And so when people get to this point in love and relationship, they no longer communicate me to you and you to me. Action, reaction, blah, blah, blah. Instead, they filter everything through the relationship and they give each other time to respond. And they respect the relationship itself as if it is something that they own and that they cherish. And if you don't respect and own and cherish and nurture the relationship properly, it's doomed. If they don't nurture and own and cherish the relationship properly, then it is doomed. And so you end up in a situation where you no longer communicate like this. You communicate through the relationship. So it's just like, oh, we have a problem here. Hi, I'm Leslie. Hey, listen, Taurus. We got a problem here. We need to talk about this, okay? So I want to give you my views. Here's the problem. Blah, 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 blah. So can you take some time, think about that, and get back to me, okay? So we can figure out what next in our relationship. Our relationship. I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to give you a quick visual, okay, Leslie? That's your reading. I hope it helps you. But when I do these kind of, when I go really heavy duty, well, let's do it like this. Actually, I don't even need to shuffle because I'm just doing a demo. Okay, Leslie? And anyone else who's watching. When I do the crucible spread, it looks like this. You, other, deeper you, deeper other, the core of the relationship itself. And this is the crucible. You see that? It's a bowl. A crucible is a bowl. Kind of like a pestle and mortar, where you pound things and bash things with herbal recipes and so on, or, in the kitchen. A crucible is something that is designed to withstand intense pressure in order to come out with a good outcome. That's why I call this a crucible spread. You can make it really intense as a spread if you want to. You can do it like this. And I've done this. It's a very heavy duty reading, but ultimately you come down to you, the other, and the relationship. And this card in the middle represents the third entity in the relationship. And guess what? This has a whole life and an identity of its own. And I can even do that with astrology. Okay? This is very, very specific. So what is this that you own? Okay? Anyway, that's a demo. And then it turns into a garden. What does that look like? And so on and so on. And then, of course, I do this as well. All right, so let me put this all away. I'm going to shuffle this up. Leslie, I hope that makes... is that right? Yeah, I hope that makes sense to you. Thank you for visiting and choosing Tarot Illumination for your tarot readings. I hope they helped you. We do what we can. So I'm going to shuffle this up to wrap it up here tonight. I haven't done any intermissions or interludes. I see you out there, Precious. Let me just make a note here with Precious. Some of you might know that Precious is in a real serious bind right now, anything helps, okay? And I did a video about that. It's the video before this one, so if you go back to the Terra Lumination channel, you can actually find that video, and it shows you how you can connect directly with Precious Moments and donate to help her, because she is in a really difficult situation. Very, very difficult, okay? The other thing is that Precious, if you want to, because we don't know how long this is going to drag out, but you got to do something, okay? We got to do something. And Necessary Truth was on that last video, and she said, like, why don't you invite Precious Moment to be with you live, okay? To explain the situation, so that people who watch can understand the reality, and then they might have more of a connection with you and might be more inclined to support you with donations and so on. So, dear Precious, if you're interested in that, let me know, and then we will schedule a live one-on-one, you and me, and then we'll put it up on the channel and see what happens, see if that helps, okay? All right, where are we? All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lesieli. I hope you got something out of your reading. That's the end of the show. That's the end of the readings. I had a really good rant earlier, so I'm not going to really push it too much farther. And kind of go from there. Gladys Serrano. There we go. Hello, Gladys. Thank you for popping by. It's the end of the show. So if anybody's still out there and you never had a reading before and you want to do it, come and see us next Sunday evening. And check out the channel. Go to terralumination.com. Let me show you while I'm here. I forgot, I should have done this earlier. So if you're like a multimillionaire and you want to donate, please do so. You go to terralumination.com, click the donate button, and throw a pile of money into the pot. It's a payment processor, and it kind of goes to the PayPal and all that. If you want to book a reading, you can also go to terralumination.com, but instead of going to the donate button, you go to the readings page, and you can book a reading there, and it takes you to the payment processor and so on. And then if you want to connect, you can go to the Connect page and you can send me your notes about what you want to talk about in your reading and so on. All right? So I hope that helps. I had a lot of fun reading for you guys tonight. I wish I could do more. I know it sounds like I'm dragging this on for years, but I really don't know what else to do right now except what we're doing right now. If I can find ways to improve or expand the channel and help more people without destroying myself in the process, then I will do that. I'm not quite there yet. But anyway, thank you so much for visiting tonight. It's been a pleasure to read for you. Thanks for any newcomers. Gladys Serrano. Thank you very much. Please come and visit next week. That'll be halfway. That'll be like a quarter way on the lunar cycle. And then 2 weeks after, it'll be the full moon. But anyway, for now, bless you. Take care of yourselves. Love thyself, all right? I'm going to wrap out of here. Let me find a sweet tune to leave you with. And we'll go from there. Okay? Bye-bye.